When my newly bought dress was worn by Scarlett again, I couldn't control my temper and called Marcus. Your sister and I, only one of us can live in this house. Who do you choose? Grace. Are you crazy? Scarlett is my sister. You're even jealous of her. I took a deep breath, my chest heavy with frustration. Don't use sister as an excuse. She's not even your biological sibling. If you won't make her leave, then I will. Marcus's enraged voice boomed through the phone. Grace, don't be so unreasonable. Scarlett and I have nothing improper going on. You don't have to like her, but you can't slander her. Don't throw a tantrum with me. I won't fall for that. If you want to leave, then leave. I won't stop you. With that, the person on the other end hung up immediately. I stood stunned for a few seconds, then let out a bitter laugh. After all these years, I realized I had been a joke. I thought marrying Marcus was the best decision I'd ever made, but I never imagined it would be the beginning of my nightmare. If that's the case, then I'll give up everything. I packed a few things and left. Before getting into the car, I made a phone call. Henry, Margaret, I regret it. I want to come home. Henry was silent for a long time on the other end of the line, then asked in a low voice, Did that boy Marcus bully you? I told you. You'd regret it someday. Where are you? I'll send someone to pick you up now. After hanging up, tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I deeply regretted falling out with Henry and Margaret for Marcus's sake. Back home, Henry and Margaret didn't say a word. They just held me and cried. I had to pull myself together to comfort them. Henry's eyes were red. Now that you're home, don't work at Hayes anymore. Come back and take over the family business. My nose stung, and I nodded. The next morning, I went to the HR department to resign. It was ironic. I had been married to Marcus for 3 years, working as a junior employee at his company, and no one knew about our relationship. Just as the HR staff was about to accept my resignation letter, Scarlett walked in and snatched it away. Why are you resigning out of the blue? Your family isn't well off. How will you live after you quit? I'm doing this for your own good. After all, we were classmates. I don't want to see you end up penniless and homeless after resigning. Back in university, you almost went astray, didn't you? Scarlett finished, then quickly covered her mouth. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to blurt that out. Watching her act so hypocritically, I found myself feeling strangely calm inside. She was still wearing the new dress I had just bought 2 days ago. This wasn't her first time provoking me. I used to argue and get angry, but now I just felt exhausted, without the slightest desire to fight. My affairs are none of your business. I tried to take my resignation letter back, my tone cold. Scarlett quickly stepped back 2 paces and, in a few swift movements, tore the resignation letter to shreds. Are you still angry? No matter how upset you are, you shouldn't jeopardize your future out of spite. After speaking, she motioned for the HR manager to leave. Everyone at the company knew Scarlett was Marcus's sister, so the HR manager didn't question it and quickly exited the office. Once we were alone, Scarlett's expression changed, and she suddenly asked me, Sister-in-law, do you like my dress? Yesterday, I accidentally got my clothes dirty, so my brother gave me this one to wear. He said I look even better in it than you do. Grace, you see? I'm still the most important person in my brother's heart, even though you two are married, with no one else present. Scarlett naturally dropped her pretense. She looked at me with disdain, her eyes carrying a subtle hint of provocation. Are you in a lot of pain? If you get down on your knees and beg me, I might consider giving you this dress back. For a moment, I was dazed, unable to tell if she was talking about the dress or Marcus. I suddenly remembered that when Marcus and I got married, not only did Henry and Margaret object, but Scarlett also made a fuss for a long time. She threatened suicide while simultaneously showing how much she detested me. Although she was only an adopted daughter of the Hayes family residence, she had grown up with Marcus since childhood. Mrs. Elizabeth had strongly disliked me at the time because of this, believing I must have secretly bullied Scarlett to make her so resistant to me. I used to think that Scarlett just couldn't instantly accept that her closest brother suddenly had someone even closer in his life, like a childish nature's possessiveness. That's why she made such a scene. But after all those repeated disappointments, I suddenly seemed to understand. The sibling bond between them wasn't as innocent as I had imagined. I let out a cold laugh. No, thanks. I don't want something someone else has used. Besides, that dress isn't yours, and your brother won't be yours either. Not anymore. Marcus and I had been married for years, But the only person who supported our marriage from the start was William. I had initially thought William genuinely liked me as a daughter-in-law, but later I found out the truth. He had sensed an unusual relationship between his adopted daughter and his biological son, and for a prominent family like theirs, such a thing would be a scandal. So, when he learned I had a crush on Marcus, he quickly finalized our marriage, forcing Marcus to marry me, all to make Scarlett give up. Scarlett's face twisted grimly as she stared at me, her eyes filled with venom. How dare you say that? If it weren't for you interfering, why would my brother and I have been unable to live together properly all these years? You want to resign to gain ground, hoping my brother will chase after you, right? I can see through your little schemes completely. With that, she suddenly lunged forward, grabbing my arm tightly. You have no family background or connections. If you lose this good job too, are you planning to end up on the streets and make my brother pity you? Listening to her baseless accusations, I felt a deep weariness. Let go of me. Feeling her fingernails dig into my flesh, I instinctively pulled away from her. Scarlett stumbled and fell to the floor. Just then, the manager's voice greeting Marcus echoed from outside the door. Scarlett's face changed instantly. Then, right in front of me, she quickly tore at her clothes and hair, becoming disheveled within a few breaths. Sister-in-law, I truly know I was wrong. I'll never touch your things again. It's just that I accidentally got my clothes dirty while cooking that day, so I borrowed your dress to wear temporarily. How can you accuse me like this? No matter what. He's my brother. How could you suspect that there's something improper between us two siblings? Sister-in-law, if these words get out, how will I ever live? I can pay for these clothes. Please don't keep tearing my dress. Don't strip me naked. I watched her self-orchestrated drama, dumbfounded. Soon, rapid footsteps approached, and the door was violently pushed open. Marcus saw the scene before him and, without a word, forcefully shoved me aside. He walked over and helped Scarlett to her feet, his face full of felt a pang of concern. Scarlett, are you okay? Your brother's here. No one will bully you. Then he turned to me, his eyes filled with disappointment. Grace, when did you become so hateful and disgusting? When I married you, you seemed so understanding. I never imagined it was all a pretense. It's just a dress. Do you have to make such a scene about it? He took a deep breath, seemingly suppressing his anger. I admit that Scarlett is wearing your new dress, and I shouldn't have given it to her without your permission, but it was a special situation at the time. Besides, it's just a dress. If you want it, I can buy you another one. His words made my breathing quicken. If it were truly as he described, I wouldn't be angry at all. But the problem was, it happened again and again. Anything his sister wanted, whether it was something from the Hayes family residence or something of mine, always ended up in her hands. Marcus, I've told you, since your sister is the most important person in your heart, I'll make room for you too. You can love each other all you want. Let's get a divorce. I'll have my lawyer send you the divorce papers as soon as possible. I had expected to feel heartbroken when I said those words, but at that moment, I found I couldn't shed a single tear. Marcus's expression showed a moment of hesitation. Then he asked in disbelief, "You're divorcing me just because of a dress?" Yes. Our argument in the office was incredibly loud, and Marcus hadn't closed the door when he came in. Everyone outside had a clear view of what was happening, and the murmurs among colleagues grew louder. So, she was already married to Mr. Marcus? I always thought she was just an ordinary employee here. If she's the boss's wife, how come she gets no special treatment at the company, and no one even knew about it? Can't you see? This boss's wife is just for show. She's clearly not important to the boss, or else he wouldn't make her suffer as a lowly employee. But wow, her jealousy is so intense, competing even with Mr. Marcus's sister and wanting a divorce over a dress? If you marry a woman like that, what's the difference between her and bringing a demanding ancestor home? Mr. Marcus is really unlucky, but no matter what, a wife can't be more important than family. Family ties are blood ties. After all, the murmurs from the crowd grew louder. Scarlett suddenly came forward and knelt before me, kowtowing repeatedly. Sister-in-law, I know this is all my fault. Please, don't divorce my brother. If you divorce him because of this, he'll definitely blame me. And you like my brother so much. Don't throw a tantrum now. You've had a crush on my brother for so many years. How can you just split up like that? As she said this, she suddenly gasped, as if realizing something, then began to speak. her tears turning into a smile. I know, sister-in-law. You just want my brother to sweet-talk you, don't you? After saying that, she turned and tugged Marcus's arm. Her forehead still showed traces of bruises, yet she was now pretending to be an understanding sister. Brother, sister-in-law is just having a momentary tantrum. You just need to humor her. This is all my fault. I should have just worn my dirty clothes. I didn't realize sister-in-law had such strong feelings about me. So please, quickly soothe sister-in-law. If you two actually get a divorce, I'll feel incredibly guilty. The more she played the role of the long-suffering and understanding victim, the more felt a pang of concern Marcus felt for her. Right in front of me, he pulled Scarlett to her feet, his eyes red and his voice trembling. Even if I get a divorce, it won't be your fault. You're my only sister. Why would you think that? Some people want to cause trouble, so let her cause enough. I won't humor her. Grace, I used to forgive you when you threw tantrums, but Scarlett is my family, and I won't allow you to treat her like this. If you apologize right now, I might still forgive you. Watching the deep sibling bond between these two, I couldn't help but laugh. It was obvious there was an emotion between them that surpassed a mere sibling bond, yet they still had to consider outside opinions and behave conventionally. It was a shame Scarlett wasn't an actress. I said I want a divorce. Did you hear me clearly this time? I spoke again, my tone absolutely firm. Marcus's face was extremely grim, and his gaze at me was sharp. Fine, you said this yourself. No one is forcing you to divorce. Even if you regret it later and beg me, I won't remarry you. Without another word, I turned and left. After returning, I contacted my lawyer and had a set of divorce papers sent to Marcus. Back then, Henry and Margaret didn't approve of Marcus and me being together. I had fallen out with my family for his sake, so Marcus didn't know anything about my family's situation. My family, the Yuns, was considered a prominent family in their social circles, certainly no less than the Hayes family. That's why, in these divorce papers, I waived all claims in the divorce. Anyway, I didn't care for the Hayes family residence's money. All those years of affection, I'd consider them wasted. Henry, worried I'd be consumed by sadness over my past relationship, arranged for me to start as a manager at the company the very next morning. Uncle, the driver, dropped me off at the company building. The moment I stepped out of the car, I suddenly heard a familiar voice. Sister-in-law, no wonder you were willing to waive all claims in the divorce just to leave my brother. Turns out you found someone else. Scarlett deliberately raised her voice, making everyone around turn to look. She put on an act of concern for me, frowning as she tried to dissuade me. Sister-in-law, when you married my brother, you yourself said that you were interested in him as a person, not our family's money. Everyone in the Hayes family residence thought you had strong self-respect, so they never gave you any allowance all these years. But I never expected you to divorce my brother over a dress and then immediately find someone so much older. What you're doing is truly disappointing. You're actually selling yourself for money. From the moment I got out of the car, I hadn't said a word, yet she had already hurled plenty of nasty accusations at me. Moreover, every one of her statements was leading, downplaying the real issues while pinning an accusation of infidelity on me. At that moment, Marcus rushed over, grabbing my arm. Come back with me, no matter what. You shouldn't stoop so low. I shook his hand off, feeling utterly baffled. By what right do you presume to control me? Marcus's ears were crimson, and it took him a long time to manage a response. Although we've signed the divorce papers, there's still the mandatory waiting period for divorce of 1 month. Until that time is up, I am your legal husband. We've been married for so many years. I can't stand by and watch you go astray. Come back with me now, and I can still forgive you. I looked at Marcus, then at Scarlett beside him. Scarlett's eyes were filled with defensiveness. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Since you're trying to control me as my husband, then I'll ask you again, if only your sister or I can stay in the mansion. Who do you choose? Marcus angrily rebuked me. Can you stop being so unreasonable? Scarlett is my sister. Why are you always so suspicious? What could possibly be between us? Scarlett also started to wipe away tears at that moment, expressing her grievances with every word. Sister-in-law, my brother and I have lived together for decades. If there really was anything improper between us, how could my brother have possibly married you? And we're siblings. I know you've always been keen on female rivalry, but I never imagined you'd become so obsessed. Scarlett's words carried clear implications, and after hearing them, the people around us couldn't help but exclaim, "This woman is truly disgusting." competing with her husband's own sister in female rivalry. I've even seen people compete with their own daughters for attention. These people must be crazy. Everyone was criticizing me, convinced I was mentally ill. Some even tried to comfort Scarlett. This has nothing to do with you at all. Your sister-in-law is out of line. Don't take her words to heart. If you ask me, you should be tougher. Your family, you should stick together. If we'd known this, you should have never let your sister-in-law through the door. I've seen some utterly shameless people before. After getting married, they not only kick their sister-in-law out but also try to seize all the family's assets. The old man who dropped her off just now was driving a luxury car. I bet she's just greedy for money. Why don't women like you just die? The voices criticizing me grew louder and louder. These people surrounded me. Some even started reaching out, pushing and shoving me. Their emotions became more and more agitated. I didn't know who threw the first punch. When one person started hitting me, others followed suit, taking advantage of the chaos. My hair was pulled tightly, and my ears buzzed. I never expected to encounter something like this just by coming to work at the company. I didn't even have time to call the company's security. I was completely caught off guard. Scarlett shouted loudly from outside the crowd, "Don't hit my sister-in-law anymore. This is all my fault. I shouldn't have kept in contact with my brother after he got married. If only I hadn't said a word to my brother. Sister-in-law wouldn't have been jealous and misunderstood." She wasn't pleading. She was piling more blame on me. It wasn't until the company's security guards couldn't stand it anymore that they rushed over and drove everyone away. My cheeks were swollen, and I was covered in blood marks. After being beaten for no reason, my anger had surged to a peak. Without saying a word, I pulled out my phone and dialed the police. "Hello, I want to report an assault. I've been beaten." Hearing me call the police, those who had assaulted me now showed guilty expressions. This woman did something shameless herself, and she still has the nerve to call the police. She slandered her sister-in-law and had an affair with an older man during marriage. We just couldn't stand it anymore and did what was right. But she's already called the police. The police won't actually arrest us, will they? I took out my phone and filmed everyone present. Scarlett frowned and tried to snatch my phone, but fortunately, I was prepared and dodged her. Failing to get the phone, she immediately changed her demeanor, frowning. "Sister-in-law, this is all my fault. It's just a small matter. Please don't call the police." They were just indignant and felt that what you did was too much, which is why they reacted physically. If you're still upset, then just hit me. Don't implicate other innocent people because of me. Slap. The moment her words fell, I didn't hesitate and slapped her directly. The crisp sound left everyone stunned. "Since you said so, I'll grant your kindness. I won't involve others. I'll only hit you." As I spoke, I raised my hand and slapped her face several more times. The rage in my heart finally erupted at that moment. Scarlett had tormented me countless times behind my back, and I had swallowed those bitter pills, and her hypocritical words spoken in front of me had made me sick to my stomach. Now, I finally vented that anger. "Scarlett, you brought this beating upon yourself. You can't blame anyone else. You keep claiming you and Marcus are siblings, but in reality, you're not biological siblings at all. What proper siblings in their 20s sometimes share a bed? And when it rains and thunders, you still send a text message to your brother saying you're scared of thunder and want him to sleep with you? Anything I had, anything Marcus gave me, you always tried to snatch away. No wonder no one wanted a strategic marriage with your brother back then. When learned I had a crush on your brother, he quickly arranged our engagement. You, your brother, and your entire Hayes family residence are utterly disgusting." I had been holding these words inside for too long, aching to say them. The people around were astonished, seemingly unaware of such a hidden truth. My God, no wonder this woman was pushing for a divorce. So, the relationship between these two siblings really isn't proper, and they're not even blood related. Oh no, we seem to have made a mistake. We hit an innocent person. This sister is really disgusting. When it thunders and rains, she still wants her brother to sleep with her? She's not a child. She's a grown woman. Can't she find a boyfriend herself? She needs her brother for everything and has no sense of boundaries. That's truly sickening. No, it's not like that. Realizing the mood of the crowd had changed, Scarlett immediately grew anxious and quickly started explaining. "Don't listen to her nonsense. Enough." Marcus walked over, his face dark, and immediately pulled Scarlett into his embrace. Shielding her, he reached out and grabbed my wrist, tightening his grip forcefully. "Apologize to Scarlett. You've gone too far. How could you incite these people to defame Scarlett? Scarlett is just a childish nature. I merely spent a little more time with her during the rain, and I might have neglected you for a moment. Do you have to make such a big deal out of that? He certainly knew how to downplay the severity, trying to normalize the situation with a few words. I struggled fiercely, but Marcus's grip tightened further. A sharp pain shot through my wrist, and my lips turned pale. Yet I didn't utter a single plea for mercy. Thankfully, the police arrived just then. After asking about the sequence of events, they immediately began to retrieve the security footage. Due to the serious nature of the public disturbance, everyone who had assaulted me during the chaos was taken away. Scarlett stared at me intently, lowering her voice. Sister-in-law, now that this whole thing has escalated and brought shame upon the entire Hayes family, are you satisfied? I didn't say a word, just turned to head to the company, but clung to me like a fly, refusing to let go. Sister-in-law, you still claim you're not throwing a tantrum? You know my brother is signing a contract with Yun's company's new manager today, so you deliberately caused this huge scene here. I can understand your feelings, but your actions have shamed the entire Hayes family. You're going too far. I hadn't realized Marcus was even working with my own family's company. I sent a text message to Henry asking what was going on. Henry quickly replied. Reading the message, my regret deepened. All this time, without my knowledge, Henry had done so much for me, all these years. Even though Henry was angry, whenever a business opportunity arose, he still prioritized Marcus. No wonder after I married him, Marcus thrived at the company, quickly securing several large contracts that elevated the company to the next level. It turned out Henry, for my sake, had quietly channeled benefits Marcus's way. He was afraid I would endure hardship with Marcus. Thinking of this, I took a deep breath. After sending a text message, I turned and told Marcus, the renewal contract for the new quarter won't need your signature. Our company will not be choosing to continue our partnership with you. In the past, Henry showed you special consideration out of deference to me. From today on, our two families are enemies. Just now, when I was being beaten by so many people, Marcus didn't step forward to say a good word for me, nor did he try to stop them. I merely slapped his sister a few times, and he immediately felt a pang of concern. Only now did I realize that all these years, my affection had been misplaced. Scarlett froze for a moment, then, recovering herself, spoke with a hint of indignation. Do you really think of yourself as the daughter of the Yun family? Your parents are ordinary people. When you married my brother, you didn't even have a wedding contribution. Now you dare to pretend to be a Yun family heiress? I never realized you'd become so vain. Marcus's eyes also showed disappointment, and he let out a deep sigh. Grace, I hope you'll stop making a scene. When you married me, you said your parents were ordinary people. I used to think that even though you didn't have a superior background, you were honest. I never imagined it was all an act. You're actually just vain and intensely jealous. I couldn't be bothered to waste any more words on them. With a single phone call, I summoned the project manager downstairs. In front of everyone, I announced that I would no longer be cooperating with the Hayes family. After sorting out the company matters, I went straight to the hospital. I had originally intended to keep it from Henry and Margaret. However, what happened at the company entrance today was filmed and uploaded online. As the story spread, there was no way to hide it from Henry and Margaret. Henry still felt a pang of concern when he came to the hospital to see me, and Margaret held me and cried for a long time. When they heard I no longer wanted to cooperate with the Hayes family, both Henry and Margaret strongly supported my decision. Daughter, don't worry, this isn't over. What's the Hayes family anyway? Just nouveau riche who've only made their fortune in recent years. Later, I'll have Henry call some of his old friends and make the Hayes family understand what they're up against. Scarlett twisted the narrative, trying to ruin my reputation, but in the end, she would reap what she sowed. For the next 2 weeks, I dedicated myself entirely to my work at the company. Although I didn't specifically inquire about the Hayes family, I did hear whispers that the Hayes family had lost many clients recently, and if things continued this way, the company might not survive. Then, my mother was suddenly struck by an object dropped from above while shopping and was hospitalized. When I heard the news, I was completely flustered. By the time I rushed to the hospital, Marcus and William were already there. Mrs. Elizabeth had never been particularly pleasant to me. For years, she had criticized me, believing I had no family background and thus couldn't help her son. But today, the moment she saw me, She broke into a smile and enthusiastically came forward to take my arm. My dear child, you've lost so much weight since I last saw you. When are you coming home? Mother will cook you something delicious. Hearing those words, my heart remained unmoved. I remembered when I first got married, the first time I called Mrs. Elizabeth mother. My dear mother-in-law instantly frowned at my address. I only have one daughter. Don't call me mother. I'm just your mother-in-law. Honestly, if my husband hadn't insisted on agreeing to your marriage, I would never have allowed you to step foot in our home. The words Mrs. Elizabeth spoke then still echoed in my ears. Even after all these years, I remembered her expression and tone. I calmly withdrew my hand and stated blandly, Marcus and I have already signed the divorce papers and filed for divorce. In 2 weeks. We'll be completely unrelated. Mrs. Elizabeth. You don't need to be so polite to me. Mrs. Elizabeth's expression instantly stiffened, and she stood awkwardly for a long time. I've heard about your divorce plans. Honestly, these are just minor misunderstandings. Scarlett is our adopted daughter, and she and Marcus have lived together since childhood. It's only natural for their sibling bond to be strong. This isn't to blame you, but you're being overly suspicious, even doubting if there's anything improper between them. Such talk, if it gets out, would bring shame upon our family. But ultimately, it's my son's fault for not keeping you happy. I've already talked to him about it. After you've seen your mother, come home with us. I promise nothing like this will happen again. Mrs. Elizabeth was uncharacteristically gentle as she tried to persuade me. Hearing these words, I wasn't just unmoved. I found it laughable. The calculation in her eyes was glaringly obvious. Now that she knew about my family's background, she was suddenly pleasant to me, when before she had been desperate for me to divorce her son sooner. If she had said these things to me earlier, I might have even been happy. But now, I was utterly disappointed in Marcus. No matter when, no matter what, whenever Scarlett was involved, his heart always completely favored her. No, thank you. I have no further connection with your family. Whether there's any unusual affection between your biological son and adopted daughter, I don't care. Those are your family's private matters. I came to the hospital to see my mother, and I don't want your family to disturb me. Mrs. Elizabeth clenched her jaw, the muscles in her cheeks tensing. Grace, don't push your luck. My personal appeal to you is already doing you a favor. I knew from the start you were dishonest. All these years of marriage, you never once mentioned your family's situation. Our entire family was kept in the dark by you, and now you're slandering my son? How can there be such a cunning woman as you? How could my son possibly have an improper relationship with his adopted sister? I stood silently, pulling out my phone and sending a few text messages. Mrs. Elizabeth, seeing she couldn't persuade me, stood nearby, panting with anger. Marcus also criticized me at that moment. What you're doing is so disrespectful. No matter what. My mother is your elder. She's talking to you, and you won't even respond. Do you need me to recount how your mother treated me back then? For all these years of our marriage, every time I visited her, she treated me like a servant. Before, when your whole family went on vacation, your mother deliberately faked illness to prevent me from going. She made me rush back from the airport to get her medicine, and then your family secretly boarded the plane and went on your trip. You never treated me as family. In fact, your heart has always been fixated on your sister. What kind of relationship is that? What kind of elders? What kind of family is that? I poured out all the grievances I had suffered over the years, tearing away all pretenses of that family. Scarlett still wanted to argue at this point. You're lying. You're just jealous. My brother and I have nothing improper going on. I let out a cold laugh and directly played a video on my phone. In the video, Scarlett was hugging Marcus, even standing on tiptoes to kiss him. Brother, you're the one I've always loved. You clearly said back then that once Grace had a child, you'd divorce her, and we could live happily together as a family, but hasn't had a child all these years. How much longer do I have to wait? When the onlookers at the hospital saw this video, they gasped. Everyone gasped in astonishment. Oh my God, so there really is such a disgusting family, for the sake of reputation, to prevent their biological son and adopted daughter from being together, yet still hoping to gain a child effortlessly. These two grew up together as siblings, and although they're not blood-related, the idea is somewhat disturbing. Scarlett's face turned incredibly pale, and just as she was about to try and explain something, a group of police officers arrived. Ms. Grace, We found that your mother being hit by an object dropped from above was not an accident. It was deliberate. After saying this, they took Scarlett away. It was she who had bribed people to intentionally harm my mother, Margaret. Fortunately, the area where Margaret was shopping was quite bustling and had security footage, which quickly led them to the individuals responsible for dropping the object. Seeing this unfold, Marcus and his family still tried to get me to plead for Scarlett. Grace, we've shared so many years of marriage. Scarlett is still a child. She was just momentarily misguided. If she truly goes to prison, her life will be ruined. Please show her mercy and let her off. I forcefully shook off his hand, seeing his true colors, and felt even more disgusted. What kind of 20-something is still called a child? Since she committed an illegal act, she must take responsibility and bear all the consequences. You say she's a child? Tell that to the police and see if they agree. If they do and release her, I'll have nothing more to say. I had the hospital security escort Marcus and his family out, refusing to be entangled with them any further. A month later, Margaret's wounds healed, and she was discharged from the hospital. I heard that Scarlett was arrested and imprisoned for intentional harm. News of Marcus and his family's affairs spread online, causing Hayes to struggle and eventually fail. Their neighbors gossiped and pointed fingers. Feeling utterly humiliated, the family directly moved out of this city. I looked at the sunlight before me, feeling as if everything was bright and clear. No matter the time or place, one should always uphold their principles and stay true to themselves. Only by having a clear conscience can one truly go far in life. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.